Welcome to Strip Cover Loot, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for another poetry discussion that comes to us straight from the twisted mind of Charles Bukowski in The Pleasures of the Damned. The poem in question is titled The Birds. Look, I've got new videos on this channel Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays are for poetry. I also have new videos on my personal channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Mondays are not for anything in particular over there. I do book or movie reviews, random vlogging stuff, nonfiction, just stuff like that, random stuff. It's more YouTube-ish than this channel is, a little bit more random as well. But the poem we're talking about today, like I said, is The Birds by Charles Bukowski, and it reads as such. The acute and terrible air hangs with murder, as summer birds mingle in the branches and warble and mystify the clamor of the mind. An old parrot who never talks sits thinking in a Chinese laundry, disgruntled, forsaken, celibate. There is red on his wing where there should be green. And between us, the recognition of an immense and wasted life. My second wife left me because I set our birds free. One yellow with crippled wing, quickly going down and to the left, cat meat cackling like an organ, and the other, mean green, of empty thimble head, popping up like a rocket, high into the hollow sky, disappearing like sour love and yesterday's desire, in leaving me forever. And when my wife returned that night, with her bags and plans, her tricks and shining greeds, she found me, glittering over a yellow feather, seeking out the music which she oddly failed to hear. I think with this poem, it is necessary to recognize one of the great influences on Charles Bukowski was none other than Ernest Hemingway. Once we acknowledge that, the question of a good death comes into play. The question of solitude comes into play. The question of women comes into play. And I think the question that's posed directly in this poem, the question of a wasted life, comes into play. So accepting those things in the universe of this poem, I'd like to read the poem one more time, thinking about individuality. If not, what individuality? Staunch levels of independence, which was, if nothing else, the Hemingway way, right? Pairing that with the good death, and the two sort of go hand in hand. Think of the short story The Killers and how that story ends. The birds. The acute and terrible air hangs with murder, as summer birds mingle in the branches and warble and mystify the clamor of the mind. An old parrot who never talks sits thinking in a Chinese laundry, disgruntled, forsaken, celibate. There is red on his wing where there should be green. And between us, the recognition of an immense and wasted life. My second wife left me because I set our birds free. One, yellow, with crippled wing, quickly going down and to the left, cat meat, cackling like an organ, and the other, mean green, of empty thimble head, popping up like a rocket, high into the hollow sky, disappearing like sour love and yesterday's desire, and leaving me forever. And when my wife returned that night with her bags and plans, her tricks and shining greeds, she found me glittering over a yellow feather, seeking out the music which she, oddly, failed to hear. The wife character is very of this world, is very consumerist, right? Bukowski is not. Bukowski values freedom more than things. The wife character in this poem, quite the opposite. Those birds were her things, just like the things with which she returned to the house. Bukowski set those goddamn birds free, knowing one with the crippled wing was doomed to fail. Why? He still had some dignity, that bird did. And he could die the good death putting up a fight, but of natural causes. Think of the lion in The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber. That lion gets to die the good death. Yeah, you got me, Frankie. But guess what? I ain't dead yet. This bird, the yellow one that dies, he had a little bit of fight left, a little bit of life left. Mightn't he as well live it free? So when the wife comes home and finds Bukowski glittering over the yellow feather from the yellow bird, which became cat meat. Cat meat, was that the phrase? Yeah, cat meat. Became some kitty's dinner. The bird might be dead, but it died the good death. And it died free. And here's Bukowski musing over the acute and terrible air during the summer, who is now free from his wife. My second wife left me because of this, because she came home and found me reveling over the freedom of the bird, her bird technically, which is now dead. Bukowski understood the value of that freedom. The other bird, am I mistaken in reading it this way, that the green bird has found his way to a Chinese laundromat and is living his days once again in captivity with an immense and wasted, with the recognition of an immense and wasted life. I think that is what we are to pick up from that. Perhaps I am wrong, maybe. Birds of a green feather always stay of a green feather. They do not, none of their feathers will switch to red. I don't know anything about parrots. I don't know anything about birds, but I do know a little bit about Bukowski. So it would not, that is what leads me to believe that maybe with parrots, their feathers change colors as they age. I don't know. But I'm assuming that that's the same bird in the Chinese laundromat that he released, the one of Thimble Head who took off, only to find himself once again in captivity. This is a poem that speaks to great depth about the vagrant lifestyle of Bukowski, about the vagrant lifestyle of Chinaski, about the wandering point of view through which we get most of Bukowski's poetry, through which we get many of Bukowski's novels. This idea of transience, being transient, not being of any given place, but maybe for a short while being from there. This idea of freedom that permeates inside Bukowski's poetry. is extreme and can be the most extreme if we're talking about extremity coming from terminal results. Bukowski is someone who absolutely, and you see this in his poetry, how oftentimes he switches jobs, etc., after feeling trapped someplace. He does not want to feel trapped in those places. Leaving a job can put you on your ass. Leaving a job can bring you one step closer to death's door. He did so with relish. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. I hope to have you back next time for another poetry discussion. That's weird to find that in here. And I hope to see you on my personal channel as well. Let me know if you have any thoughts over this poem in the comments section. And like I say, I hope to have you back next time as well.